Hey there, I'm Bruce. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to get perfect inlays with a router. I was recently over at the Lakeside Woodwork shop in Kentucky, and Nick over there was showing me how to get perfect inlays using this router set. It has some bushings that once you do the initial inlay and remove the bushing, it has the perfect offset for when you cut your bow ties or whatever shape you want to inset. So let me show you how it's done. So we've got our slab here. You made this template on the laser for a shape of inlay that you like.
Correct.
And the basic premise is set this where you want it.
There's a bushing on the outside of the router, and this bushing is going to ride along the template.
Okay. Kind of cutting out exactly where you need it.
Correct. And
then you just fill in everywhere that it doesn't reach.
Correct. So we'll actually just trace the outside and then kind of get a little relief spots, and then we'll take a chisel and we'll bust out all the center section, remove this. We'll go to our piece that we're going to use for the bow tie.
Yeah.
And
then we swap out.
Remove this bushing
so that
the offset
inlay fits perfectly with that offset.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that seems a little too easy.
It's easy.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Educate me on a plunge router because I don't own one.
Okay. The release and brake is right here with your thumb.
Okay, so you thumb that and
thumb down
plunge.
and you push down, plunging in.
And when you let go, it holds.
And you let go and it'll lock in place.
Okay.
And then obviously you're just going to plunge in and you're going to go around clockwise.
Okay, sounds good.
Some of the time spent here was just me getting used to using a plunge router. I've never used one before, but after just a few minutes, I got the hang of it. Then I just routed all the way around the perimeter of the template, adjusted the bit deeper, and kept making passes until I was at the final depth. I got Nick to show me how he makes some lines through the middle since he's more familiar with this router and the bit. I didn't want to be the one to break his bit. He's really just breaking it all up so it will chisel out easier.
We've gone all around. We've cut through some different grooves here, and this olive wood's so dense we actually had to kind of clear some of it out. So now we're just going to be breaking away those pieces in the center with hammer and chisel. Is it not important for your inlay to actually seat all the way down? Like you were saying, it's not important to be flush at the bottom.
Correct. So you're going to end up having wood glue down here in the bottom, so even if you have a rough bottom, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
We may just, depending upon how this comes out, might use a little trim router with a little flat bit.
Just clean it up.
Just
but this is the fastest way.
It's the fastest
to handle
way.
this.
Yep.
Okay.
I like to leave the template just in case at this point. So leave the template still where it's at, and then just use the hammer and chisel.
That was satisfying. Cleaning this up with a chisel. This olive wood is really dense and it didn't get quite as clean as we wanted. So now we're going to use kind of like an end mill bit that has a bearing to clean up, and the bearing will just ride around where we've already cut. Easy.
Preset our depth
right
for this bit, so it's going to be right at the bottom of
the mortise. Yeah. So you're saying our total depth is probably going to end up being about a 1/2 inch.
So it's right at about 11.5 millimeters.
The template that Nick made has 3 different size bow ties that he regularly uses. That way, he has a good choice all in one spot to see which he wants to use. I use this to kind of just lay it out in different places and get an idea of where to put our bow ties. Because of this, I like that he used some clear acrylic to make the template. It just makes it much easier. A lot more routing ensued at this point, and I let Nick handle it since we were in a bit of a time crunch. He went all around the perimeter, making sure to keep pressure from the bushing up against the template. If you don't, the bow tie might not fit very tightly.
Now that we've got our mortises cut out of the actual piece, we're going to cut the actual bow ties. So to do that, we've removed that piece of a bushing off of there.
Yeah, so on the bottom here, we've gone ahead and removed the bushing. So this bushing gives the exact offset of the router bit that's in there, so then we'll get a nice tight fit.
Okay. And we just route around the edge, and then basically we take it to the bandsaw and cut those pieces out. We've got our bow ties.
Correct. Yeah. So since this isn't a finished piece, we've got little holes, and then also it's countersunk, so we can put some screws in to hold our template in place. And on this one, we are just tracing the outside. Again, we're going to make multiple passes to get all the way down, and then just kind of clean it all out and resalt.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
Then I took the board over to the miter saw and cut the piece free with the bow ties. I resawed it at the bandsaw to release the actual bow ties, and then we sanded the edges of the backside so they would go into the mortises more easily. Gluing them in was pretty straightforward. Just get plenty of glue on every surface of both the mortise and the bow tie, being sure to keep glue out of the large cracks, that is, if you're going to leave the cracks exposed. We were actually filling ours in, so it wasn't as big of an issue. Then you want to tap them in gently to start them and use another block of wood to hammer them until fully seated. After that, I just grabbed a hand plane to flush them up, but they were mostly flush right away. Then I sanded everything before we used our void filler. Here are a few shots of me applying finish to the completed top. It is so cool to see this green come to life. If you want to see the full video of how I made this end table, including welding the steel base, doing an easy finish on the steel, filling voids using tinted Bondo, and more, click on the link in the description. I've got a video of making this end table on my channel.
Get over here, we got a high five. Yeah. Boom. Look at that. Thanks so much for checking out this video. I appreciate it. I hope you learned a couple of things. I picked up some tips while I was there in their shop. Some really efficient ways to get perfect inlays every time using a router. The cool thing about this method is you can cut your own templates. It does not have to be using a laser like Nick did. You could just create a template on your own out of acrylic like he did so he could kind of see, or just use some MDF get creative. I'll link below to the one that we used. This was a super simple way. Thanks so much for checking this one out. Give it a thumbs up if you feel like I earned it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next video. So